Je vais vous parler rapidement de la célébration des anniversaires dans mon pays.
Hey everyone! In the previous video we talked about some ways in which people celebrate birthdays in Colombia. Today we're going to talk about how people celebrate this event in other cultures. Before starting, I want to clarify that the traditions and celebrations we mention here are by no means a rule for every person in Colombia or in any of the countries we mention here. So, welcome again.
Hi again. I'd like to start with a Colombian celebration that we didn't mention before. And it's that many parents in Colombia celebrate their daughter's 15-year birthday by throwing a fancy party or a journey abroad. Usually, girls are dressed in pink and they look like princesses.
That's right. Parents end up getting into huge loans just for celebrating one day or paying for just a few days abroad, and then they end up paying back to the bank for years.
Yeah, I personally don't like this kind of celebration because I don't like the idea of spending a lot of money on birthdays, and also because I disagree with the stereotypical image of a delicate princess portrayed in the 15-year celebration. Actually, in some cultures, when reaching a certain age, women are supposed to get married. In others, ablation to their genitals is practiced. And this is all just because of tradition, religion, or social norms. Fortunately, today, those practices are being banned.
Well, it is clear and sad at the same time that birthday is not always a motive for celebration. As a matter of fact, here in Colombia, it is usually a motive of sadness for men. We have to join the military service since it is mandatory.
Yeah, that is at the age of 18.
Yes, most of the people who end up joining the army are the poor, since they don't have the money to pay for this requirement, and they usually end up skipping university for joining the army, which is very sad.
Salut, je m'appelle Christian Egbourou, je suis béninois qui habite en Colombie. Je suis professeur de langue. Alors, un ami de André, bien sûr, je vais vous parler rapidement de la célébration des anniversaires dans mon pays. À vrai dire, il n'y a rien de particulier, ça se passe d'ailleurs comme en France, comme en Europe. La seule exception, c'est que voilà, ce jour, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? On essaie de vendre le gâteau aux enchères. Alors, comme je vous l'ai dit tantôt, on invite les amis, on prépare quelque chose à manger, les gens boivent, les gens dansent. Et en fin de soirée, on essaie de découper le gâteau et qu'on vend aux enchères. Alors, la personne qui achète le gâteau au prix le plus élevé, d'accord, c'est cette personne-là qui est honorée, quoi. Cependant, ça ne veut pas dire que c'est cette personne qui mange le gâteau. Le gâteau est distribué à tout le monde mange le gâteau. Mais pour ce jour spécial, on va retenir que telle personne était à l'honneur parce qu'elle a acheté le gâteau de la personne qui célèbre son anniversaire. Donc voilà un peu la particularité de la célébration des anniversaires dans mon pays. Merci beaucoup et portez-vous bien.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and I'm going to tell you how we celebrate birthdays. So there's nothing really special in the way we celebrate birthdays in France. We wake up in the morning, our family says happy birthday, we receive texts, and then during the day, most of the time if we're not working or if we're not at school, we celebrate the day with our family. And then if it's the weekend or if we have time, we go party, we go to bars, and we have fun, we dance and stuff like that. Of course, we receive gifts, adults and children as well. For children, most of the time with the family and with their schoolmates. So they come to their house and we give the child most of the time a colorful cake. And we give the children candies as well. We organize games for them and stuff like that. In France, what's peculiar about us maybe is that we believe that it's bad luck to wish the person happy birthday the day before the birthday. So we never do that. We only wish happy birthday to the person during the day of their birthday, or maybe a day or two later. Sometimes if we have many people for the party, we like to rent a hall, like a party hall somewhere, and we invite the family and the friends and like the colleagues, like whoever we want to invite. So we rent it, we have the party there, and then most of the time after 11 or midnight everyone goes home and then it's over. So yeah, that's the way we celebrate birthdays. Bye bye!
A very interesting tradition in China is the parents put a lot of symbolic items around their child, and that is in order to predict the future of their child.
What kind of items?
Something, for example, that represents money, a toy that represents an athlete, or an airplane, for example, a car. And if the child reaches one of these items, then the parents have an image of what would be the preference in the future for this child. That, for example, is going to be a pilot or is going to have a lot of money or things like that.
And how do Chinese boys or girls celebrate their birthday?
Well, opposite to Colombia, where we eat cake almost for all the celebrations, birthday celebrations. In China, they do it with noodles because they represent longevity.
I also know that women in China don't really celebrate 30th, 33rd or 66th birthday. And it's because those numbers represent bad luck. And for example, on the 33rd birthday, they buy a piece of meat, they hide behind the kitchen door, and they chop that piece of meat 33 times to cast all the bad spirits into it, and then they throw that piece of meat away.
Wow.
That's a very weird tradition.
Yeah, I mean, what a waste of meat.
I guess it's a very cheap piece of meat.
Maybe, I don't
They
know.
throw away.
We will have to travel there and ask people about it, or leave it ourselves, you know.
Maybe.
That's the best way to find out things and learn about culture.
What about
Good.
men? Can you tell us about men?
Well, yes, men also avoid turning 40.
Why?
Let's suppose I'm 39, and then instead of turning 40, I just don't celebrate that and wait until my 41st birthday because it also represents bad luck.
Russians don't celebrate their birthdays in advance because if they do, they risk not to live up to the actual birth date. That's a belief they have.
Turning 40th and celebrating actually the 40th birthday is considered also bad omen. According to a Christian belief, the day 40th after you die is the judgment day. You know, but some people disregard this, and even in modern Russia, some people celebrate the 40th birthday, so it doesn't matter. It's just a general belief, but you know, there's always exceptions.
Russians also have this tradition of pulling the ears of the birthday person. So they pull the ears of the birthday person by number of completed years. And also, if a Russian survives a life-threatening event, for example an accident, they consider that day his or her second birthday.
So coming back to our country, we have an indigenous community called the Waju. One curious event within this indigenous community takes place in a group that is called the Cucurumana. This group inhabits the rural area in Riohacha and has around 1,000 inhabitants. And half of the inhabitants celebrate their birthdays on the same day, which is December the 31st.
Yeah, there are two reasons for this event to happen. The first one is that when these inhabitants went to register, they didn't know exactly when they were born. And the second reason is that politicians came with a civil law notary to register massively in a hurry because of the elections, because they needed votes. So they made a lot of mistakes with their names and also with the dates.
Yeah, you know, this situation doesn't only happen in this region of Colombia. In our country, it is very usual to have these inconsistencies for election matters, let's say. It also happens in the Pacific region and in many other regions in Colombia, sadly. So we reached the end. We chose some traditions that call our attention, but we're sure there are many other practices that are carried out in other regions, in other cultures, in other countries, and we're sure you can also share with us. You can do it by leaving your comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and we see you in the next one. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye bye.